In this section, you will learn about the components and the functions of the equipment cooling systems. You will also learn how to operate the controls and how to interpret the equipment cooling system indicators. Cooling air for the cockpit instrument panels, pedestal, and forward E&E compartment is provided by fan-driven air supply and exhaust ducting. A heat exchanger system uses the airplane skin to cool the equipment cooling air.
Later airplanes do not have a skin heat exchanger. These airplanes cool air discharged from the electronic area by circulating it through the lower cargo compartment. Both types of equipment cooling systems are controlled automatically.
With the equipment cooling selector positioned to auto, the system operates automatically in various configurations. In flight, only the heat exchanger valve is open and the exhaust fan operates. If the exhaust fan fails, the supply fan automatically operates. On the ground, in auto mode, the system will configure itself to provide adequate cooling. Normally, the inboard supply valve is open. Both fans operate. If the outside air temperature is above 7 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, the overboard exhaust valve opens, the heat exchanger shutoff valve closes, and air is exhausted overboard. Now touch the equipment cooling selector to position it to the refrigeration mode. Correct. The refrigeration mode is selected manually. The refrigeration mode is used on the ground when the ambient air temperature is above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. With the equipment cooling selector positioned to refrigeration, the ACRU outside supply and overboard exhaust valves open. The ACRU isolation valve closes. The refrigeration mode provides colder air for cooling than is possible in the auto mode. In the refrigeration mode, a closed loop circulates cabin air through the ACRU. The ACRU outside supply air does not mix with the equipment cooling air. If the outside temperature drops below 70 degrees Fahrenheit, the system reverts to the auto mode. If the temperature climbs above 70 degrees Fahrenheit again, with the ground handling bus available, reset the refrigeration mode by cycling the selector from refrigeration to auto and back to refrigeration. The standby mode must be selected manually by positioning the equipment cooling selector to standby. Touch the equipment cooling selector to position it to standby. Correct. When the equipment cooling selector is positioned to standby, it commands the skin heat exchanger cutoff valve to open. All the other valves close. On the ground, both supply and exhaust fans operate. In flight, only the supply fan is signaled on. If the supply fan fails, the exhaust fan automatically operates. The override mode is selected manually and is used primarily to clear smoke from the equipment cooling system. Touch the equipment cooling selector to position it to override. Correct. With the equipment cooling selector positioned to override, the manifold interconnect valve opens, the smoke override valve opens, and the supply and exhaust fans turn off. Cabin differential pressure draws cockpit air through the cockpit instruments and the E&E compartment to exhaust it overboard. Note that activating fuel jettison automatically sets this override configuration regardless of the position of the selector. When there is no cooling airflow in the system, the no cooling light comes on. An ICAS advisory message appears, and if the airplane is on the ground, the nose wheel well call horn sounds. The no cooling light is armed only when the equipment cooling selector is positioned to override. Operation of the electrical equipment with the no cooling light on can result in unreliable or erratic indications after 90 minutes. Touch the equipment cooling selector to position it to auto. Correct. The valve light comes on, and an ICAS advisory message appears if one or more valves are not in the proper position. When an excessive temperature or lack of airflow is detected in the cooling system and the equipment cooling selector is positioned to auto, the overheat light comes on. An ICAS advisory message also appears, and if the airplane is on the ground, the nose wheel call horn sounds. Smoke sensors detect smoke in the forward equipment cooling system. When smoke is detected in the forward equipment cooling system, the smoke light comes on, and an ICAS advisory message appears. No smoke detection is provided for the aft E&E compartment.
An equipment cooling system test switch is located on the auxiliary panel. Moving the switch to the equipment cool position from its spring-loaded center position initiates a test of the overheat and smoke detection systems. Touch the equipment cooling test switch.
Correct.
Illumination of the overheat and smoke annunciators when the test switch is held in position indicates that the detection system is working properly.
Two automatic exhaust fans in the aft fuselage draw air from the lavatories, the galleys, and the aft E&E compartment. Aft equipment cooling air is discharged in the fuselage near the cabin pressure outflow valve. Cabin differential pressure helps the exhaust fans vent the exhaust air. Only one aft exhaust fan operates at a time. When the primary aft exhaust fan fails, the alternate aft exhaust fan turns on automatically. ICAS status messages are the only indications of an aft equipment cooling supply fan failure. No cockpit controls exist for the aft equipment cooling system. You have completed this section. Touch Advance to return to the menu.